Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I'm going to be doing a book haul. So I have hauled quite a lot of books since kind of July over into August and September, and I thought, you know what, I've got quite a lot of books to go through, so let's just do an updated haul. So there's, I think, about 40 books, a lot more books than I thought I had bought, but needs must. So the first book on my list is The Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. This book, I genuinely bought this book because it's so gorgeous. I bought the hardback and it has this really beautiful cover with a dragon on it, and I love dragons. And the naked hardback is absolutely stunning. It also has this really nice kind of like soft feel to it, almost like felt, and it's just stunning. I have it on my bookshelves where you can't actually see it because it's at the top, but I do have it displayed on my bookshelves because it deserves to be front and center. And it's also, it's from what I understand, it's a kind of classic take on epic fantasy. And I want to start reading more epic fantasy, I think. I think I've been reading quite a lot of grim dark. I feel like epic fantasy is kind of something that I'm wanting to read more of. So Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. The next one on my list is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I actually have no idea what this book is about. I went to my local bookstore a couple of weeks back and I saw it, and I've heard people talk about it, but I still don't really know what it's about. But I really like the cover, and I want to be reading books from people who don't necessarily, you know, come from the UK or the US. So I picked that one up. It is a quartet. The cover is really stunning. And I don't want to read too much about it because I kind of want to just go into it and see what comes out of it. The next book on my list is Dracula by Bram Stoker. So Dracula, I'm really excited to read. It is a classic and I can't believe I haven't read it. I bought the Penguin Clothbound Classics because I want to start reading more classics and I want to get, you know, the kind of same covers. So I really like the Clothbound Classics. I think they look really pretty on shelves. So I purchased that one. And then the second classic that I purchased also in the Clothbound Classic was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And Frankenstein, again, is a book that I've never read before, which is just insane to me. There's so many, you know, old school classics that I just haven't picked up and I need to get to. And that's actually one that I want to be reading this year. The next book I got was And Then There Was None by Agatha Christie. I've been getting into Agatha Christie more recently. I've read one of her short stories. Well, it's based on a play that she wrote and it was novelized and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's a really good entry point into some of her other works. You know, it's only 150 pages and I read it in one sitting. So I'm really excited to read And Then There Was None, which I'm actually going to be reading in October, which I'm really excited about. And then the next one is Sharpe's Tiger by Bernard Cornwell. I need to read more Bernard Cornwell, and I know Alan loves the kind of sharp stories, and I need to read them. They're also kind of, I believe there's kind of undertones of like, you know, British colonialism, which is something that I'm personally very interested in, and I studied at school, and I'm super curious to see whether I will enjoy it. I've heard really great things about his historical fiction. Next on the list is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. So I came across this book completely by accident, and it's about, I think, four friends in 1940s or 1950s New York, basically just living their lives. And I really like books about people just doing their everyday lives and their struggles and stuff like that. And I really like New York. New York is my favorite city. And so it's bringing a city that I love and cannot wait to get back to soon. And it's mixing it with a period of history that I'm really interested in. And it's surrounding four young women. So sounds really great. The next one is The Shockwave Rider by John Brunner. This is a sci-fi book. I came across it in a secondhand bookstore and it was brand new. I think it cost me like £2 and I thought this would be criminal not to get it. And so I went and had purchased it. It's all about kind of privacy and how your personal data is used, which is a topic that I'm personally very interested in. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get it. The next book is Lord of the Bow by an author that I see his name on a lot of other books, you know, like when the authors write like a review, and that is Con Iggulden. From what I understand, it is about the Khan dynasty, which is a period of history that I do not know enough about and I want to learn more about, and I think maybe reading it through fiction first will kind of open that up to me in a really nice way. And I really want to read Con Iggulden. I see his books everywhere, I see his name everywhere, and I just feel like it's about time that I read one of his books. The next one is The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber. This I got secondhand. It is a book about a prostitute who rises up in society. I find books like that really fascinating, and again, I got it secondhand. It only cost me like £3, brand new, and I thought, you know what, when I want to read a historical fiction book, this is going to be one that is going to be perfect for me to read. The next one is the Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, and I bought this one secondhand on the recommendation of Sharon. Sometimes I feel like reading a historical romance. It doesn't happen often, but there is that occasion that I will want to, and I normally just read it in one sitting. And she said that it was a really good romance, so I got it secondhand from eBay because it's out of print, unfortunately. But I'm excited to read this one. I don't think I'll get to it this year, but definitely next year. And then I also bought the Savage Lands books by Stacey Marie Brown. So I actually have 4 of them now. I bought Savage Lands, Wildlands, Deadlands all in one go because all 3 books were out. And that was back in August, I think it was. And I read them all consecutively and I enjoyed them as fantasy romance goes. And then Badlands, which is the 4th book. There's 5 books, I believe. The 4th book came out this week. So I purchased that and I'm going to try and read it either in October or November. The next book I got was The Wolf of Orion by K.S. Veloso. And the reason why I purchased this book is because myself and a group of my friends are on the hunt for non-Western fantasy. We really wanted to pick authors who, own voices, not your kind of typical what is in the zeitgeist, I guess. And so we came across The Wolf of Orion and we had pretty good things. So I purchased it and I'm going to try and read it on October, but it's entirely possible that I won't get to it. But I am excited to read it because I've heard really interesting things about the main character. The next book is a sci-fi book by Octavia E. Butler called Kindred. I purchased this because of Charmaine. I know she loves this book, and I really like the fact that it's tackling some really difficult themes, but in a fantasy setting. It's about slavery. It's got undertones of racism, society, how slavery shapes society, and the impact of that, again, on everyday people. So I'm really excited to read this one. I also love that it's not super long, and I think I'm going to try and get to that one this year. The next book is You Die When You Die by Angus Watson. I came across this one and I flagged it in one of the servers that I'm in, and one of the people in that server, Matt, who I really rate, and we have very similar reading tastes, said that he read the first couple of chapters or something and it read quite similar to Joe Abercrombie. So I had to pick it up, and this is a series that I'm going to start reading in January. It is a trilogy, and I'm just really excited to kind of go back into something that's very grim and dark and has elements of humor in it. The next book is Empire in Black and Gold by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I picked this one up because on Alan's channel, they are doing a buddy read of the kind of first 4 books in the first cycle. And I heard really great things, and a couple of my friends who have read it said they think I would really enjoy it. And the magic system sounds really cool. And I think it's a book that I'll really enjoy. I really need to read Adrian Tchaikovsky. So I bought the first book, and I think it's a series that I will get to next year. The next one is Kings of the Wire by Nicholas Ames. I've heard great things about this book and Nicholas Ames in general. And I know it's kind of following the kind of band gets back together trope. The characters are a little bit older, and I like reading books with older characters now. I'm not the same reader that I was when I was 17, 18, 19, and my tastes have definitely changed. And I don't know, I'm really excited to read it, and I think it's going to be a fun time. The next book is Sharps by KJ Parker. So I bought Sharps, which I'll probably have a review out by now, but I did buy it after finishing The Folding Knife. I really enjoyed it, and I buddy read it with Alan. I think it's a fantastic book. KJ Parker has very quickly become one of my favorite authors, and I can't wait to read more books of his. The next book, or the next 2 books, are A Heart of Blood and Ashes and A Touch of Stone and Snow by Miller Vane. So they're 2 separate books, but I thought I would lump them together. And it's a fantasy romance series that I've heard a lot about. And the 3rd book is coming out in January. So I thought it would be a good series to kind of fit in between some of the heavier stuff that I'm reading. The next book I got the next 2 books, 3 books actually, 4 books actually, I got from Goldsborough. So I got She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I bought this one myself. So I have the monthly subscription where you are sent a book that they pick for you. But these next 4, I actually bought all myself. So She Who Became the Sun, The Hand of the Sun King by J.T. Greathouse, 7 Deaths of an Empire by G.R. Matthews, and then The Trouble with Peace by Joe Abercrombie. So I bought all 4 of those myself. I actually went to the store when I had some time off. 2 of them I bought there and then because I just thought, you know what, these look really cool and they sound really awesome. And I bought The Trouble with Peace because I'm just trying to buy as many editions of Joe Abercrombie's books as I possibly can. It's actually ridiculous and it's starting to become a little bit worrying if I'm being completely honest. But I saw it in the store and I was like, you know what, it's signed, it's got the blue sprayed edges, and I was like, gotta do it. So those 4 books I bought from Goldsboro. I'm really excited to read all of them. I think She Who Became the Sun and The Hand of the Sun King, they're both Asian-inspired fantasy, which is something that I want to be reading more of. And then 7 Deaths of an Empire kind of sounds like a kind of classic fantasy, so I'm excited to read that too. And then on the topic of Joe Abercrombie, I also bought the hardbacks for Best Served Cold, Heroes and Red Country. I've been looking for those hardbacks for a really long time, and then I was able to find very good quality editions of those books. I'm so happy because I love the hardbacks. They're so nice. So I got those as well. And then I got The Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt. I got this on recommendation from Mark. I'm actually currently reading it and I absolutely love it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's entirely possible that I might actually have my review up of The Sisters Brothers before this video comes out. But I'm really enjoying it so far. And I've just realized that I need to be reading more Westerns because it is a genre that I love. The next book I got was The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. It's following a courtesan and it's kind of following her as she navigates where she is in life. And I believe there's a bit of political intrigue and there's the kind of trope of banding together with a bunch of other courtesans as well. It just sounds something right up my street and I really want to read this one next year because I'm really excited about it and I think it's going to be fantastic. The next book I got was my monthly subscription from Goldsboro, and that was Among Themes by MJ Kuhn. It sounds like a fun time. It's like a heist fantasy. I really enjoy heist fantasy when it's done well. I've heard really good things about her writing. It is a debut novel, which I'm always excited to see new authors come up onto the scene. So, you know, I'm really excited to read it. And it's also not super long, so I think it'll be a fairly quick read. The next book is Endgame by Mallory Blackman. So Noughts and Crosses was a series that I read when I was growing up. You know, those books were being written as I was growing up. And it's such a fascinating premise where race is essentially inverted. Black people rule, whereas, you know, white people are kind of seen as the underclass, I guess. It's such an interesting take on race and the impact of race on relationships, identity, many other different things. I didn't actually realize that Endgame, so this is the final book in, I think it's like 5 or 6 books, didn't actually realize it was coming out this year. And I went into my local bookstore and I saw it and I purchased it and I read it in one day. And I liked the ending. I thought it was a fitting ending to the story. So the next book I got was The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie. I was in Edinburgh visiting my brother and it happened to be that Joe Abercrombie was doing an event in Edinburgh, so I booked tickets and I bought a book and I got it signed by Joe Abercrombie. I met Joe Abercrombie, which was an amazing experience. I got to ask him a couple of questions. I wish I got to talk to him more, but I had a nice little chat with him and he's so good, guys. Like he's even better in real life, honestly. Total fangirl. I don't really fangirl. Joe Abercrombie is like pretty much the only person that I've ever fangirled over and probably the only person I ever will. The next 3 books I got were actually because of Joe Abercrombie. And that was the first 3 books in the Bulgariad series by David Eddings. I know that he read those books when he was younger and he really enjoyed them. And he even mentioned in one of his interviews that the first law is kind of a more adult take on the Bulgariad. So I had to pick them up and I'm really excited to read them at some point next year. The next one I got on recommendation from Angela, which is Nevermoor, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. It's the first book in the Nevermoor series. It is much more kind of younger. I think it's middle grade. I don't really read much middle grade, but I want to be reading more middle grade. So I thought, let's get it. And it's a book that I'll very easily be able to read quickly. And I'm excited. Next book is a historical fiction book, also on recommendation from Angela. And that was All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doe. And she said it's one of the best historical fiction books that she's read. I think it's one of her favorites, if not her favorite historical fiction book. And I mean, Angela's opinion I trust more than most, and she and I have very similar reading tastes, so I thought I had to pick it up, and it's definitely one I want to pick up next year. The next one I got was The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I've seen the film, I love the film, and I thought, you know what, I have to read the book, because the book is, you know, set I think in like the 19th century. I think it's during the Industrial Revolution, I could be wrong, And so, you know, obviously the film that has, you know, Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning in it is set in modern times. And I'm super curious to see the plot take place in, you know, a very different time to where we are now. The next two books I got, or the next three books I got, sorry, were the Genesis of Shinara trilogy by Terry Brooks. I bought these secondhand. They're brand new, but I bought them secondhand. I think they cost me like £2 each. And I saw the trilogy in a bookshop in Edinburgh. And so I thought, you know what, I have to pick them up. And so I picked them up. I don't really know much about them, but they sounded pretty cool when I read the blurb. And given it had the full set and it, you know, cost me £6 for the full set, I was like, it's criminal not to. The next one I got was Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I need to read more Pratchett and I need to read more Gaiman. I think I was having a discussion with some people in Alan's server and a bunch of people recommended Good Omens, so I just went ahead and purchased it because I love Pratchett and I have a feeling that I'm going to love Gaiman, so you can't really go wrong. The next book I got was Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. This is a book I'm going to read next year for sure. I'm really excited to read it. I know Andrew recently published a review of it. He was singing its praises. So I am really excited to read it, and I have a feeling that I'm really going to like his writing style. We're down to the last couple. So I bought a trilogy by Miles Cameron. I think it's the Masters and Mages trilogy. So the first book is Cold Iron, then we have Dark Forge, and then we have Bright Steel. The covers are absolutely stunning of these books. And this is a trilogy that I'm going to read in January of 2022. I'm going to be reading it with Matt and Angela, which I'm really excited about. And it's kind of like a classic fantasy following a young boy who kind of learns his powers, grows into his powers, and has to defeat evil, which you can't really go wrong. The next two books I got are by KJ Parker. I got The Hammer and The Company. KJ Parker is very quickly becoming a favorite author of mine, and I'm going to be reading The Hammer in December. And I'm really excited. I want to buy all of his books. It's really annoying though, because I have to buy his books secondhand, or a lot of his books secondhand, because they're not widely accessible in the UK. But I want to buy them brand new because I want to give him my money. But, you know, needs must. And I'll be buying some of his newer stuff brand new because it's more easily accessible. We're down to two books. The next book I got was Sharpe's Assassin by Bernard Cornwell. So, you know, I talked about Sharpe's Tiger, which is the first book in the kind of Sharpe's series. There's like so many books, it's ridiculous. But this is a limited edition book that I think it was released this year. And it's kind of like, it's got Bernard Cornwell's signature embossed on the hardback, and it's really beautiful. And then the last book I got was my first Subterranean Press book, and that is City of Songs by Anthony Ryan. So it is the third book in a series or a trilogy, and I don't have the first two books, but I saw the cover of it and I was like, you know what, I really just want to buy a Subterranean Press book. So I just went ahead and bought it, and it's gorgeous, and it's signed by Anthony Ryan as well, which is really cool. And I will now need to go and get the first two books in that trilogy so I can read the whole set. But there we go. So I think there was over 40 books, give or take. Quite a lot of books, more than I realized that I had bought, but there's a lot of books on here that I'm really excited to read. And a nice, like, mostly fantasy, but some sci-fi and some other genres in there too. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you're thinking about purchasing any of these books, because I'm always really curious to hear where, you know, kind of what you guys are reading and buying as well. I hope you all have a lovely day. Stay safe, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.